We met this morning. We are friends already. Yes.
We are neighbors.
Yeah, hello.
Mayor, how are you? Jerome Ringo, good seeing you.
Guten Morgen, ja.
I would like to give you a warm welcome to this conference. We were working hard to make it happen, and we are delighted to have you here this morning to meet this very important international group of experts here in the City Hall of Berlin. The biannual event of the Asian-Pacific Weeks is a big wheel we are turning here, an initiative of the governing mayor of Berlin. I guess, by comparing in an international way, it's Europe's foremost platform for political, economical, cultural, science dialogues and exchange of ideas. Even the cultural part plays a big role in this overall event.
There was a time when environmentalists were laughed at as greenies. Those days are over. The question of how we are to live together and to shape our economies is no longer an issue for esoteric, naive idealists, but of vital importance to us all. It is at the top of the agenda in our cities and our regions and on the national and international level. The question is no longer whether we need to do something for the sustainable development of our cities, but how we can achieve the best results.
So why we think about China will suffer more from these situations. So we think about in China the per capita amount of arable land and water resources is very, very, very less in the average of the world.
Thank you, dear dignitaries on this dais and in the audience. There's one advantage in speaking in the end is that everybody has spoken already what you had to speak. So, you only have to summarize the essence. I would begin with an incident, taking back to where Jerome has said. I was in my 9th standard. It was a physics class. And suddenly my physics teacher started crying. He was crying out of joy. He said, "Today I want to break the news to you all that man has landed on moon." The passion with which he was teaching physics and the way he was feeling for that an American has reached the moon, and it had given him so much joy he could not even express in his words. You know what we need today is such passion for world's environment. We grew up listening to stories from Mahatma Gandhi, how he would save a little bit of paper. You know, my teacher was one who was very closely associated with Mahatma Gandhi. He would say when Mahatma Gandhi gets a letter, he would tear the letter and reverse it back and write it on the back of the cover, and not to waste the bit of paper. People would say, "You are such a miser. There is plenty of resources. Why do you want to use every bit of a paper?" He said, "Then there is space. Why do you want to waste it?" That passion is what we need today for saving our planet. Don't you think so? Do you agree with me? And I thank our Honorable Minister from China. He has elaborately explained the problems that China faces. I see India is not any different. It has similar problems. 3 Three of the major cities, three of the big cities in the world is in India. And the population is more than 10 million in each of these cities. You know, one thing that we need to attend here is when the cities grow, the crime rate also rises up. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you didn't need to go with such guarded care in cities of Bombay or Delhi or Chennai. Today, Calcutta, today the crime has increased so much that there are neighborhood watch in every locality. People have to have security guards. You need to have dogs. And when you have dogs, then you have to take care of the dogs. You have people. I mean, problems, challenges grow on multiplying that way. Of course, it has an impact on the rural population as well. When we are thinking of urbanization, the challenges that an urban city faces, we also have to look why people move into urban areas. Why they leave their rural dwellings where they get clean air, pure water, plenty of sunshine. You can watch the sky and the stars. In urban cities, you can't even find the stars. You can only see them in the television, the movie stars. You can't even see the real stars in the sky. With high-rise buildings all over. And children don't know, they don't know about animals. They don't know about nature. Why do people move to urban areas? Reason is not proper facilities available in rural areas. When it comes to India, I would say health care, education, amenities, and a false notion in the mind of dignity being in a bigger city. Even though you live in a shackle or in a pigeonhole apartment, you feel you are living a better life. This sort of mentality that has created exodus from the rural area and moving all into the cities. So from International Association of Art of Living and IHV, International Association of Human Values, we took some rural development programs. In this 25,300 villages we adopted. And what we did there, 5H program, health, hygiene, homes. You know, if people are living in just thatched roofs and if it rains, they have to run for shelter somewhere else. There are no proper homes available. And cheap and at low cost, and good houses is one of the agenda that we have started on. Homes and then hygiene, health, hygiene, homes and human values and harmony in diversity. As I said earlier, human values, something that we need to bring up in the society today. An awareness about human values, educating people about human values. And harmony in diversity. These 5H programs have to some extent help people to stay where they are happily rather than rushing into the cities and live a low quality of life. So educating the population, in urban population, about lowering their consumerism. As you heard from the previous speaker, the slow lift is better. And everything we want now fast food, fast track, and life also finishes very fast. Death also comes very fast. And so, put a check on consumerism. Educating people on value system, consumerism, lowering the consumerism, and bringing in an awareness about environment we in India face the same challenges in China. People do not know what harm it happens in the environment when they are not sensitive to it. You know, you just burn a plastic, you don't not knowing that it is causing so much dioxin, it can kill a few thousand people. One bag of plastic is good enough to create so much toxin. And so we have said no to plastic is something we are doing it in the village, in both rural and urban areas, educating people in using environment-friendly resources. You know, traditionally in India we used to use dry leaves as packing materials. Plates were made of dry leaves, aconite, coconut leaves, arecanut leaves. You know, these are fast disappearing. We are getting back, everybody wants a plastic and polythene. So cultivating a fashion towards the natural product, biodegradable product, is something. And then rainwater harvesting. Here, the will is needed from the administration. You know, like in Chennai, the Chennai government made it a law, rule that every home should harvest rainwater. So the rainwaters are collected and then they should be stored in the tank underneath, and they need to purify that and reuse it. This has, to an extent, solved the water problem in Chennai, which used to undergo severe water problem every year. So rainwater harvesting is something that can be used in tropical countries like in India. Then I would say solar power. Nature has bestowed Asia and India especially with a lot of sunlight. More sunlight than you really need. But there is no technology available to harness them. Of course, we've not made much progress in this solar energy, but the little bit whatever people know now is that they put some boiler for water heating from the sunlight. It really is not useful, because when there is sun is very hot, you get very hot water, and on a cloudy day, you really get cold water. That's when you need the hot water most. These are the things that can help people to remain in the rural areas and not migrate, creating satellite townships where people get good health care, and clean drinking water. When I was in America recently, they said one thing: if you want to get a house in California, what is important is 3 things are important. Said what? Location, location, and location. Location is very important where you live, because the location says what type of neighborhood is around you. So you need to create an awareness for a stress-free and violence-free society, both in the developed countries and in the developing world. This is a challenge that urban cities across the globe face today. Is school dropouts, schoolroom violence. And today, September 11th, we cannot forget terrorism. After Iraq, India has lost the maximum life on terrorist-related violence. And I see this growing crime in cities, in urban areas, is due to lack of education and too much greed. We need to slow our minds down. So these aspects of development, when we take together, only and only then we can have a sustainable growth in our planet. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
So why we think about China will suffer more from these situations. So we think about in China the per capita amount of arable land and water resources is very, very, very less in the average of the world.
Thank you, dear dignitaries on this.
We met this morning. We are friends already.
We are neighbors.
Yeah, hello.
Mayor, how are you? Jerome Ringo, good seeing you.
Guten Morgen, ja.
I would like to give you a warm welcome to this conference. We were working hard to make it happen, and we are delighted to have you here this morning to meet this very important international group of experts here in the City Hall of Berlin. The biannual event of the Asia-Pacific Weeks is a big wheel we are turning here, an initiative of the governing mayor of Berlin. I guess, by comparing in an international way, it's Europe's foremost platform for political, economical, cultural, science dialogues and exchange of ideas. Even the cultural part plays a big role in this overall event.
There was a time when environmentalists were laughed at as greenies. Those days are over. The question of how we are to live together and to shape our economies is no longer an issue for esoteric, naive idealists, but of vital importance to us all. It is at the top of the agenda in our cities and our regions and on the national and international level. The question is no longer whether we need to do something for the sustainable development of our cities, but how we can achieve the best results.